Hey guys, what's up? It's OSRS, and today we're counting down the top 10 most profitable bosses on old school RuneScape. This idea was suggested by Eric Moore, so thank you very much. If you would like to suggest an idea for the next video, feel free to leave a comment below. One thing to keep in mind while watching this video is that the profits listed per hour may be different at your time of viewing. This is because prices are changing constantly in RuneScape. So maybe if you're watching this video 2 years later after its upload, just do a double check to make sure it is still profitable. Either way, I hope you guys enjoy this list. I know summer is right around the corner for most of you, and it's a great time to get bossing, to get your team back together, and to make some money, and I hope this list helps you choose that right boss. At number 10, we have the boss that makes the least amount of money on this list, Bandos or General Gardevoir. This boss is located in the God Wars dungeon, and he makes around 1 million GP per hour if you can solo him. Otherwise, you're going to need to be splitting with a team, you're not going to be making as much. Now, I should point out the big flaw with Bandos as a money maker. I mentioned to make money off Bandos, you really need to solo him. But when you solo Bandos, you need to have high stats and high level gear. If you have those two things already, you are in a position to do a boss that makes much more profit. Therefore, you shouldn't do Bandos at all. However, the profit per hour on Bandos was calculated by taking the average amount that you can expect to get rare drops, and along with all the common drops you're going to receive anyways, and then figuring out how much money that works out to every hour. So Bandos is a profitable boss over the long term. He might not make you 1 mil an hour if you go kill him for 5 hours, but if you go kill him for maybe 200 hours, you can expect to make around 200 mil. However, it is possible to get very lucky at Bandos. Maybe you'll kill him for 3 hours and end up coming out with a pair of tassets worth 30 mil. Either way, Bandos can be a fun boss, and I recommend you to try him out because he is profitable. At number 9, we're looking at Venenatis. This boss also makes roughly 1 mil an hour. However, she's much easier to kill when comparing her to Bandos. However, there's a few downsides. First off, she's located deep within the wilderness. This can make it kind of annoying because there's often PKers here. However, on that note, she's also much more consistent when it comes to making profit. She doesn't really have many big rare drops. You make the bulk of your profit kind of off these common item drops that you can expect to get all the time. Also, as I kind of briefly mentioned, she's much easier than Bandos, actually significantly easier. I made a video on the top 10 hardest bosses and Venenatis placed in last place. So if you're a lower level player, it's going to be very easy for you to go to Venenatis and make some money. And Venenatis is a boss that you will do solo exclusively. You don't really ever duo or trio Venenatis because for the most part she is in single way combat. So if you don't have any friends like me, you're going to be able to do Venenatis no problem. At number 8, we have the Giant Mole. The Giant Mole, I think, has become more popular in the last few months. I see a lot of players there nowadays, which is kind of a downside because it's a little bit crowded. But he makes around 1 mil an hour, like the last two bosses we looked at. The nice thing about the Giant Mole is you really don't need to be a high combat level at all to kill him, so keep that in mind. However, it is nice if you are a high combat level, and you have things like Darox, so you can do the 1 HP Darox method. The Giant Mole gives you a very consistent 1 mil an hour. There's no really big juicy drops that you can expect to get from the mole. However, keep in mind with the Giant Mole there is kind of some prerequisites that are required to make that money. I believe it's either the Falador Hard or Elite Diary you need to do to get access to the Mole Finder, which significantly increases your profit per hour. A few other, benefits I can list in closing is that the mole is located conveniently beneath the Falador Garden, so you don't need to worry about going deep into the wilderness. And the mole is also in multi-way combat, so if you want to kill this guy with a friend or two, you're going to be able to. I highly recommend checking out the mole, especially if you're a lower level player, because he's really quite fun and you can make some okay money here. At number 7, we're looking at Zilyana. This God Wars dungeon boss will make you between 2 to 2.5 million GP per hour. Keep in mind though, this is a very hard boss and it will require you to have high combat stats along with high level gear to kill her efficiently. However, if you're kind of lacking in those areas, it is very possible for you to still make a lot of money at this boss using a duo or a trio team. One other thing to note about Zilyana is she is a boss that you will profit long term over. So if you're looking for a consistent profit every hour, this is not the boss for you. But if you have plans to stick to this boss for maybe 1 to 300 hours, you can see these GP per hour rates. The reason for this is because her GP per hour is calculated mostly off her rare drop tables and the expected drop rate on those items. So for example, if you were to get the Armadillo Hilt from Zilyana, you would have instantly 45 million GP in the bank. However, it may take you many hours to actually get that drop. Either way, Zilyana is a very fun boss, and she's also very challenging. I recommend that you check her out, and if you do, leave a comment below letting me know how it goes. For number 6, we're looking at the giant 3-headed dog, Cerberus. This hound makes 2 to 3 million GP an hour, and he is a consistent profit, so you can expect that every hour that you kill him. Perhaps the biggest downside to Cerberus is that he has very high requirements for you to kill, and you also must be on a Hellhound Slayer task or Cerberus Slayer task to actually kill this beast. But if you do end up meeting those requirements, this boss will make you a lot of money in a very short time. So whenever the Slayer Master dishes out a Cerberus task to you, I recommend you take it. Also, keep in mind you're going to need very high level gear to really kill this boss efficiently and hit those maximum GP per hour profit ranges. And number 5 is the Abyssal Sire, which profits roughly 3 million GP per hour. Like Cerberus, it is a Slayer boss, and this one requires you to have 85 Slayer, and you also need to be on either a Abyssal Demon or a Sire task itself. However, if you do manage to get on task and have the requirements, this boss will make you a consistent 3 mil an hour. It has many uncommon and common drops that are worth quite a lot of money. Keep in mind though, you'll need fairly high combat stats around the 90 range, and also high level gear to really kill this boss efficiently. Even though if you're kind of lacking in some of those areas, you're still going to be able to make a lot of money from this boss. If you do get the task, I highly recommend that you boost it so you get more kills, and there's a bonus to this boss. If you manage to get the Unsire drop, you're able to turn it in, and you have a chance at getting anything from the Abyssal Dagger, which is worth roughly 8.1 million GP, to the Abyssal Sire pet, which just looks awesome. If any of you guys have that pet, leave a comment below in the description letting me know. Stealing the number 4 spot is Dagannoth Kings. These guys profit between 2 to 3 mil an hour, but it really depends if you have noted bones, and if you are receiving any of the core drops. For Dagannoth Kings, to make the most money, you're going to want to do them solo. The nice thing, however, about Dagannoth Kings is that at least you don't need staggeringly high combat to do them, although to be efficient, it's really best to have, highest melee as possible. But if you just have 80 melee stats and like 75 magic, 75 range, you can do these guys, so they're not bad profit even at those levels. Be sure, however, that you watch a guide before jumping into these guys because they're kind of quite complicated. Perhaps the biggest downside about Dagannoth Kings is that it's often crowded there. There's a ton of people doing these, and it's because they make so much money an hour, and they're fairly easy. Also, you need to have this crazy huge walk through a maze to get there, but you kind of get used to it after you've been there a few times. Definitely a great boss to check out. I've done them a few times myself, and I recommend that you do too. Coming in at number 3 is Demonic Gorillas. Okay, so they're not exactly a traditional boss, I get it, but they make a lot of money and they're hard enough. These guys make 3 million GP an hour, and it is a completely consistent profit. For these guys, it's recommended to have, an 80 plus attack, strength, and defense level, and also you're going to need, 70 prayer is recommended, and 75 plus range is also, recommended. Those are kind of baseline, higher stats, the better, and the better gear means the more money that you're going to make. But overall, these guys make amazing money. They don't really require super high stats. That's why they're number 3 on this list. These guys have been making bank for people since the release of Monkey Madness 2, so go ahead, get in on this action. You don't need a team to do them. You can do them completely solo. There's a ton of them there, so you don't really have to worry too much about finding a spot, although they can be kind of crowded, especially on evenings or on weekends. But definitely a great way to make some money. Check them out, and if you guys have been doing these for a while, like I assume, probably many of you have, let me know how it's been going in the comments below. For number 2, we're talking about a boss that everybody's heard of, everybody knows of, and everybody's seen, Zulrah. Perhaps you're expecting that Zulrah would be number 1 on this list, but it's actually not the most profitable boss on old school RuneScape. Zulrah makes between 2 and 4 mil an hour, and the amount that you make really depends on how high your stats are and whether you have best in select gear or not. A benefit to Zulrah is that it will make you a consistent profit. This isn't one of those long-term profit bosses. This is a boss that you can jump in for 5 hours and make yourself a nice quick and easy 20 mil. The biggest downside to Zulrah is that you need to do a hefty amount of questing to unlock it. However, once those quests are unlocked and you do Zulrah for about 100 kills, you'll have the strategy down pat, you'll be able to kill the boss in under a minute, and you're going to make yourself some crazy money. And finally, currently holding the #1 spot is raids, making between 4 to 5 million GP per hour. Once again, not exactly a boss, but it makes a ton of money, and there's a million different bosses in the raids dungeons. The thing about raids is that you can do it as a solo player, or you can do it as a group of 30 people. You're still going to be making this crazy profit per hour. Now, keep in mind that I'm making this video kind of shortly after the release of raids. It's only been a few months, so if you're watching this video a year down the line, make sure to recheck this. It definitely has changed. But right now, with all the crazy items like the Twisted Bow, Dragon Claws, the Elder Maul, raids is absolutely insane for making money. Not to mention, you make a ton of money off of just the common drops like death runes, blood runes. There's a ton of different herbs that you can get from this, coal, minerals. Raids is just insane right now. So if you're a fairly high level player and you have some good gear, hop into raids, really learn how to do it efficiently and quickly, learn how to do it without dying a lot so you can keep your points up, and you are guaranteed to make a ton of money. I love raids, and I hope that when you guys try them, you will love them too. And that concludes this video. Thank you guys so much for watching, and I apologize if any of the profits were wrong. These things are very hard, they calculate exactly, and they're also time sensitive. Hopefully they haven't changed too much at your time of viewing. Also, I just hit 2,600 subscribers. That means a crazy amount to me, and I'm so happy that you guys want to subscribe to me and see future content. Until next time guys, love, peace, and chicken grease.